I'm doing a giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can enter to win. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLexGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at an apocalypse game and talking about some tier 2 treasures. A few months ago I brought up that I thought runestones was one of the most powerful treasures that you could get on Apocalypse, and I still stand by that. If you go back and check out the video, there is some really cool math involved. Basically, the addition of World Tree to the game, formerly Radiant Prism, just makes it so much stronger to pick up runestones on Apocalypse, because APOC is typically going to be a hero that can grab some tier 6 treasures fairly easily. You get that random assortment of tier 6 characters, sometimes you get a Hercules. Overall, it's just easier on this hero to grab tier 6 treasures, and runestones makes those tier 7 treasures. Also, World Tree a little bit easier to use when you just have random tier 6 characters, because that's typically what you want on APOC. But in this video, we're going to be discussing how to get to level 6 with some tier 2 treasures that give you XP. And we're not talking about Skip's Puzzle Rune, maybe in a future video. We're actually talking about Merlin's Slippers, which doubles the amount of spells that you see in the shop, which actually more than doubles your access to XP and allows you to get to level 6 and get to that apocalypse point where you can start to take over the game and finally make use of your hero power. So that is what we are going to take a look at in this one. After a pretty strong start to the game, getting to pick up 5 units here on 2.2, going into 3.0, and a pretty strong 3.0 for us as well. We get to pick up another shrink spell to remain strong, though. This shrink spell is really just to activate the Cinderella. I don't think I'm planning on locking on to Romeo plus Trojan Donkey, though I do consider it, and I will actually briefly lock on to this pair of characters for a second before ultimately deciding just to roll past them. Romeo doesn't really do anything right now. It's just a brave princess without an upside, and Trojan Donkey we don't have any support for currently, and I also typically like to move into evils rather than good. Good has a few more speculative pickups and things that could go right, but evil is just going to be ultimately stronger, as I've talked about in many of my Peter Pants games and things like that. This combat is going to be close, but we are going to wind up taking our first loss here and taking 4 damage down to 41. But you can see here we have some absolutely excellent evil pickups with a second Black Cat and a Wicked Witch rather, and then I'm going to go ahead and cast this for glory. Not that I am super confident that I am going to win this combat, but more so that I just want to tick down on Cinderella, get access to some of those tier 2 treasures that I was just saying are so powerful. Not going to lock on to the rest of this shop despite having an evil character and a dwarven character. Not really what I'm looking for, the doubly and the shadow assassin on Apocalypse, but hopefully we can start to slay a little bit with this brave princess. We are going to get our first slay trigger there to start those things rolling, because we did miss on that last turn, so that was a little bit unlucky. Hopefully we can kill that prize pig, and we are able to do so, which also allows us to win this for glory. So a really strong start to the game. I'm definitely going to cast this potion of heroism here, flip over Cinderella, and activate brave princess, and that is going to give us these Merlin's Slippers. So that should really help us in terms of finding XP moving forward in this game, and I'm super excited to pick that up. There's definitely some other considerations that I had in that last shop, though, with a Minotaur and a Bossy, and like I said, I like tier 2 treasures on Apocalypse, but I'm going to go ahead and wind up picking up another Wicked Witch. I just don't want to commit too much to trying to find tier 2 treasures. I already got, to be honest, what is probably the best tier 2 treasure on Apocalypse with this Merlin Slipper, so I just want to play tempo. I want to make my board as strong as possible. That way, in case I do find like a Wish Upon a Star or something like that, I am fully prepared to take advantage of it. So that's kind of what's going through my mind here. We're going to get an easy win up against this Horde Dragon, and then we are going to find ourselves in possession of a Wish Upon a Star, and feeling pretty good right now. 41 health, leading the lobby alongside Fates and the Grandmother. So feeling pretty good. We're going to pick up Wish Upon a Star, and then I'm going to pick up Vulture. And from there, I'm going to put the donkey back in because I really want to win this combat. And I'm even thinking, what more can I do to win this combat? Should I pick up this Hungry Hippocampus, for instance? Should I pick up this Black Cat after I wind up rolling? And ultimately, I feel that my best chances of increasing my chances to win this combat are by picking up this Medusa. So I'm going to sell off my full bench, including the 2 out of 3 completed Brave Princess and the Labyrinth Minotaur that is currently on the board, selling off the Labyrinth Minotaur so that way I can hang on to Trojan Donkey, as it is an animal that will pump up the Vulture, despite me not really expecting the donkey to summon too many things. So we're going all in here on this Wish Upon a Star, and we are up against King Midas, so I'm feeling pretty confident, but our donkey isn't going to spawn anything, and my opponent with a ranged unit in the background that we fail to attack into means that we tie. So we don't get the bonus XP, a little bit unfortunate, but we are still going to have twice the odds. Oh, by the way, yeah, some issues with the tracker. I accidentally loaded up 2 instances of it, so it's not going to be working for this video. I think I was also doing some editing while I was playing this game, so just means that the tracker simulations aren't going to be quite so accurate, unfortunately. Here, I'm just going to focus on tempo. Again, I'm going to pick up 2 4-cost units that are both very, very powerful 4-cost units with a Lightning Dragon and a Sporko. And I wanted to talk about one other decision that I make here. So typically you don't really need excess attack on Medusa, so it would make sense to switch my Wicked Witch and my Sporko here. Get more attack on the Black Cats, get exactly 6 attack on Medusa. The reason that I don't do that is twofold. One, I want Sporko to be able to attack first, and secondly, I don't want my second Black Cat to just die to like a Ring of Meteors or something like that, or Falling Stars. So ultimately decide on this lineup, and it's going to make this a very, very close combat. It will be a loss, but 33 health, I'm still feeling pretty good. I'm still feeling quite good about 33 health. We're towards the top of the lobby. The Miri has gone out of it, and the 3 players that were losing the lobby to begin with here, well, I guess let's first talk about Treasure Map. I would call Treasure Map the rich man's runestones, for sure. But it's obviously still going to be quite powerful. We also find ourselves with the ability to pick up another XP spell here. I'm just considering if there's any way to also pick up a Rotten Apple Tree, but ultimately it doesn't look like there is. So I'm just going to pick up this XP spell and then roll a few more times. Next turn, we're going to roll down completely. I don't care if I take a little bit more damage against this Wonder Waddle, that's totally fine. I'm going to roll down fully next turn and hunt for that final XP spell to get us into APOC range. But Wonder Waddle definitely stabilized this game at around 20 health or so they could be a tough opponent. That was definitely something I was paying attention to. The Miri, Wonder Waddle, and Horde Dragon both got off to, or all 3 of those got off to rough starts, but of course Horde Dragon and Wonder Waddle can always come back from some of those rougher starts. We are going to wind up taking 7 damage here, but still staying at 29 health. I'm feeling pretty good about that. We are now playing up against the Miri Ghost, and also I wanted to point out the reason that I said you more than double your chance at finding XP is because you also have the opportunity to find lucky coins, which give you additional rolls and additional chances at finding XP there. But then we are indeed going to find this Turkish Delight. That is going to allow us to transform with Apocalypse, and the only tier 6 character that we see in our shop is a pumpkin. So I'm gonna roll, see if we can find a pair of any of the characters we already have. We find a good boy, which isn't exactly what we're looking for. I could sell Burning Beard plus Jormungand for it. But we don't really have that much going on with the good boy, so I'm just going to wind up rolling down and seeing if we can find anything else. And while we don't have any Echo Woods, I really like what Echo Wood builds into, and it also finds itself in almost every endgame comp. So going to lock onto that Echo Wood here, and we get super lucky that Juliet attacks into Hercules, so we're going to get a tier 7 treasure. And I talked about World Tree at the beginning of this video. You can see we have a total hodgepodge of characters right now, but World Tree is going to make it all work. And now all of my characters are monsters, so they will all get the bonus when they attack from Oni Tyrant. We could also put the Bear Stain in, give everything +2/+2. Not going to worry about that. Not going to worry about picking up a second Jormungand or a second Bear Stain either. I am going to look for what I was calling the core 5 of characters that are really good once you are world treeing. The core 5 primarily being Echo Wood, because Echo Wood's just good with every synergy, Ashwood Elm, Good Boy, Lordy, and Court Wizard. So those are the 5 characters that I'm basically just full rolling down for. Princess P, it's a good character, but I'm not really interested in it at this stage of the game. We've still got 29 health. We can afford to lose a few brawls. Let's keep rolling and try to find ourselves the comp that is actually going to be able to win this game. So we're just going to wind up full rolling down, and you can see with the World Tree pickup, we're doing just fine. So feeling pretty good about this one. I'm going to wind up sharding the Hercules, hoping to get Ashwood Elm there, or potentially an upgraded Burning Beard could be cool too, but not going to be so lucky. I am then going to pick up a Green Knight, which is potentially a mistake, but it's a pair, and it's a pair of characters that I feel like I will play going forward. In hindsight, I do think it was a mistake, though, especially when we roll into a Court Wizard here on this turn. Now, the one thing that Green Knight does have going for it is I could use the Green Knight to double support the Lancelot, which will immediately activate it. I felt like I wanted to pick up Lancelot right now because we could activate it so easily and get a tier 5 treasure. And there's a number of really powerful tier 5 treasures from here as well. However, we can technically activate Lancelot this turn with the Oni Tyrant, and I'd love to put the +10 attack on the Doom Breath as well with the Boomhilda, so this is the lineup that I am going to go for. Maybe Lance also slays, helps to grow the Jormungand, helps to grow the Echo Wood. There's some definite reasons to play it, but a Lightning Dragon takes out my Oni Tyrant, a spell takes out my Echo Wood, and we're in for a little bit of trouble here. This is actually a very close combat and winds up being a tie, though, so I'm not too upset about it. I'll wind up picking up another Court Wizard from here, still trying to figure out the tracker issues, but going to wind up rolling past the Burning Beards in favor of those core 5 characters. And I will say that there is some consideration to expand this into a core 6 and pick up a second Oni Tyrant, but ultimately, I feel like I have enough time. At 21 health, I feel like I have the time to really pick up the characters that I want to pick up, and if you consider Oni Tyrant's place on this current board, it's very tough to make work, because it's just tough to fit in a pair of Oni Tyrants and still play everything else that I want to play. I could have locked onto it there. The Knighthood is also not a terrible lock-on, but ultimately I decide to roll past it. There is something to note too, that I could have tried to triple the Court Wizards, at which point I'm looking for Sky Castle plus World Tree being a fantastic combo, but it's a little bit too tunnel visioned in, and I'd much rather have 2 Court Wizards than just have 1 upgraded Court Wizard. So that's why I don't go for that. We are still going to get the win, so I'm feeling really good about my decision, and Staff of the Old Toad, probably a pretty good treasure to pick up here as well. That's really going to help me hunt for all of those core 4, and you'll see that I sold one of my units right before casting a Dream, so that way if we found Gwen, we would have space on our bench for Knighthood. So that was definitely what I was hoping on dreaming into there. and then we are going to roll and be able to pick up a Lordy. So things are definitely turning around right now, and I'm glad that I kind of had the patience to hunt down these core 4 characters, or core 5 characters. Core rhymes with 4, so I'm tempted to say core 4, but core 5 characters, as it were, with Court Wizard definitely doing a lot of the work in our current comp. Court Wizard, Oni Tyrant really doing a lot of the work, so maybe it should be a core 6 of tree world tree characters that we consider. Locking onto this shop because our Merlin Slippers lets us find easier access to Evil Twin, and currently planning on Evil Twinning the Lordy just to get some additional stats at the start of combat to kick things off, and I think that that is a pretty good deal. We're going to wind up having no problem taking out this Horde Dragon, and then I am just going to wind up firing off this Evil Twin. Now, there is a small consideration for using Evil Twin on Oni Tyrant, which we are also very much making use of right now with the current comp. One of the reasons that I go for Lordy is Lordy works much better in the front row, and that's part of the reason that it is in the core 5 and Oni Tyrant isn't, really only functioning in that back row for the most part. After that, I'll wind up rolling down and gotta figure out what we want to knighthood next turn. We won't be able to use it on anything this turn because we picked up the Evil Twin, so that's totally fine. I think that we are still doing fine enough here with the pair of Court Wizards and the unupgraded board. Pretty basic board from here, but with my opponent only on 3, it just means that I have to win. I don't have to worry about not having upgraded characters, not dealing that much damage or anything. So we'll see how that goes, and how it goes is my opponent also has a world tree, but they only have one Court Wizard. We have the Court Wizard advantage, and I think that is going to be enough to allow us to take the win here. We just have more bonus attacks and slightly bigger Court Wizards, of course, because of the Oni Tyrant. So that is going to allow us to get a win onto the Fates. So that's good that we don't have to deal with them in this lobby. And then we see an Oni Tyrant and an Echo Wood. So going to wind up picking up both of those characters here. I'll sell out of the Green Knight, pick up the Lucky Coin, do a little bit more rolling before figuring out what I've got a knighthood this turn. And I think that ultimately it is going to be a Lordy that I knighthood. Reason being, I'd like to triple my Oni Tyrants and have one Oni Tyrant in the back row. Whereas if I knighthood the Oni Tyrant, then I also have this front row one that I don't actually really know what to do with. So just going to wind up using this knighthood on a Lordy. That'll give us a bunch of stats, of course, because everything is considered a dwarf. And I am still debating if I want to try to put this other Echo Wood back in this comp here. Ultimately, I decide to go for it just to have one more large unit. Somewhat glad that I did, as my opponent is pretty large here themselves with a hat ball combination. Looking pretty good. This is going to be a reasonably close one because my opponent does have a ranged unit in the back line, but we are just going to have way too many bonus attacks. That's going to allow us to take this combat relatively easily as well. I'll wind up firing off a shard of the Ice Queen here on the Green Knight, because we could hit Oni Tyrant, we could still hit Ashwood Elm. Both of those are really huge pickups and might as well take a look. We are going to wind up finding ourselves with another Boom Hilda, but then we find the Oni Tyrant. So that'll give us a triple. It gives us a tier 6 treasure, and it's actually kind of a tough call. Now, in hindsight, I think what I should have done here is picked up the wand and tossed the staff. The point being that we could have then just rolled for scammy spells for the next turn. Even if we find a way to lose our combat this turn, we'll be able to like double cast a Pigomorph next turn or something like that with pretty good likelihood. What I wind up doing instead is hanging on to that Staff of the Old Toad, primarily because we've got this Echo Wood pair that we could pick up, and we still haven't found any Ashwood Elms, which would still be quite good for us. So I am, a little bit conflicted. There's also some summons in that comp. There was a Baby Bear and a Time Flies, and summons are really, really good when you're on the Court Wizard plan, because every time those get attacked into, you're going to have multiple bonus attacks. Again, we could pick up a Baby Bear there here, but I'm going to wind up going for this Drink Me potion and taking a deeper look into the shop. And from here, I'm thinking that a double-casted Dream does have some reasonable things attached to it, like Sadrak could potentially help us play around Medusa. I legitimately was thinking that we are going to wind up finding ourselves with a Sadrak. It would have been pretty cute to transform into Fates as well and get faded to a tier 6 unit, but there just isn't that much time left in the game, so don't wind up going for it. Unfortunately, after that we see a Pigomorph. I would have much rather double casted that, but what can you do? And from here, we get to triple up on our Echo Wood and grab one more tier 6 treasure. It is going to cost us. We are going to have to just play our Time Flies, but we get to play Ninth Book of Merlin here as well, which is a really, really good treasure to add to the end of this. Now, I'm not actually sure if transforming into Sadrak in hindsight was correct. I think that it might have just been wrong. It maybe made it more likely that my Echo Wood got attacked into, but ultimately it isn't going to matter as we are just way too strong and all of these bonus attacks are going to allow us to take the brawl. So really, really crazy one. A lot of different transformations and different heroes and things, but we actually purchased 3 separate XP spells with our Merlin Slipper, and obviously that was super huge for us. We also found the treasure map, but we cast a Wish Upon a Star, The End, and a Turkish Delight, a full trifecta, one of each XP spell, and that allowed us to do some really great things, even though we struggled for a little bit. Didn't find an Ashwood Elm for a little bit, but it didn't really matter because we had all of the time that we needed. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm No Lex Given. Peace. This week's giveaway word is dust. Each week I use a new code word. That's just to distinguish who's commenting for which week. And the reason I have you guys say a code word, that way I can tell who is interested in the dust and who's just commenting to say hi or that they enjoyed the video, stuff like that. You can definitely do both. Just make sure you include this week's code word. You can also enter as many times as you want per week, once per video. You can go back, leave comments on old videos, just make sure they include this week's word, but there's no limit to how many times you can enter, other than, I guess, the amount of videos that I have. And I've been putting out a bunch of Storybook Brawl videos since last October, so yeah, there are a bunch of opportunities to enter to win. You can go through the backlog and watch some of those, but it's been really fun to receive the comments from you guys, get that level of interaction. You can also come join me on my Discord, which I'm trying to grow right now, just so that I have feedback on my titles and thumbnails and things like that, but I also have some fun ideas for special game modes that I could make work with lobbies of players in the future. So feel free to check that out as well. There is a link to that in the video description, and help me climb on my way to 1,000 subscribers. I'm getting there slowly but surely, and thank you guys all very much for your support.